Hello, my good people. Hi. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening. Glad and excited to be back. Hoping you're good as I am. My name is Leah. I'm Latez. I'm Latez Jaggy. And in case you're new to this place, you're so much welcome at Looking at Life with Latez. In case you have not subscribed, kindly consider subscribing. And for my subscribers, those people who have made this place home, thank you so much. Welcome back. And as I always keep on telling you, if you ever see me seated, if you ever see me just comfortable somewhere, just know that we gathered for a conversation. So it's yet another good time that we're gathered here for just a casual talk, just a lookout of one thing and another. And today is the time that I want us to talk about culture and Christianity, culture and religion. And the terms are so common to us, the terms are so usual to us, but there are things that I've been experiencing in my past days and years that I can say in one or another. I think we are getting wrong when it comes to culture and Christianity. At times we are not able to get to know to which extent we should practice cultural things, to which extent Christianity is coming in, maybe to which extent we should do cultural things and where maybe Christianity is coming in. And it's something that at times is becoming an issue to most of us, especially for now, as we are transitioning to now the latest generations, people who got to interact with the great parents, people who got to know about culture and all that. We are getting to times where, yes, my origin, I'm a Kikuyu, but in one or another, like now myself, the children that I'll bring them up in the city. So there are some privileges that I had to interact with my grandparents, my aunties there at home in up country, that maybe my children will not have that opportunity. So there are some cultural things that I might have gathered, and our children might not get that advantage. And now, as we get to grow up, there are some of the things that at times we needed to know when we were young, but we never got that opportunity, but they are really required of us. You know, like in most cultures, let me say, we get the thing that is at times common and all that is this thing of dowry and all that. And at times it happens that you get to know what it takes, dowry and all that, when maybe you're making plans to get married, or maybe a close friend, or maybe a sister or a brother who you're close is having such activities. So we are not getting that opportunity of getting to learn these things when we're young. Because early enough, as we get to talk maybe from my culture where I come from, when girls were at a certain age, especially at that age, the boys used to get circumcised and all that. There are elderly people who used to sit them down. They get to teach them about their culture. They get to tell them of what is expected of them, maybe as they get older and all that. Yani, there's a way ladies and men were well equipped and well prepared to adulthood as young as maybe they were 13 and all that. And that information used to help a lot. But now, for us now, maybe even not for us, maybe for the generation, the Gen Zs and all that, they are growing up in an era that anything cultural, anything from up country and all that, those things of our great parents, they are not getting to familiarize themselves with. But there are things that are very important. We are getting to realize that we get to grow up, and whatever we are getting to learn is we are getting to learn it in church. And one thing, there are a lot of things that we'll get to learn from the church, but still there is a lot that is needed. We need to learn from our cultural backgrounds, because there are things, as much as I may want to know about my Kikuyu culture, I might not get to know them in church. I might not go to church and expect a pastor or a priest or somewhere reverend there to teach me anything about my Kikuyu culture. These are things that I need to go back to the roots of my elderly uncles, aunties, of my grandparents and all that. Those are the right people that should give me these cultural practices that are required of me in this era that I am in. And as I was getting to think of all these, I think we getting to mess around, not knowing up to which extent we should practice cultural things, where Christianity is coming in, and we having issues. And to some point, it's worrying. Because I've experienced people in one thing or in one way or another that they have gotten to suffer just because they omitted a cultural practice that was very needed of them. And due to failure of that, maybe they were like, you know what, we are Christians. You know what, we were delivered from these things. You failed to practice a certain cultural thing, and in one or another, it came to affect you later. These are some of the things that we're getting to experience. You get to hear that you get to have a son or a daughter. You fail to name them maybe after, in each and every culture, they have different ways of how they name their children. Like for us, you name after parents first, then from there, you name after your uncles and aunties and all that. And now maybe me with my civilization, you know what, I'm a city girl. I just go, get a son, get a daughter, and just name them maybe in a certain way. And maybe I don't know what my parents or what maybe that person that I was supposed to name that child had said about naming and all that. Because these are some of the things that are really affecting us. Me, I'll go with my westernization. I'm like, you know what, I'm a Christian. You know what, I've been deliberated from these issues of culture and all that. And I go ahead and name my child as I want. Nowadays we're even naming our children with 2 English names. I'll call her like what? Let's say what? I'll call her Grace Melody. Yeah, I go name my daughter Grace Melody, and she would even have a Kikuyu name. But maybe there's something that had been said about naming in my family. There's something that had been said about naming in my clan or in my society and all that, and I don't know. My child ends up having issues just because I didn't name them according to how my culture expects me to do it, according to maybe how my family is set up, according to maybe how my lineage usually name their children. And now, when my daughter starts developing issues and all that, now because I'm a Christian, now because I'm this girl who I've been born in the city, I'm this girl who really know God, I'm this girl who really a follower of Christ, I believe in God, I believe in prayers, I fast and I do all that. What I do is I commit now this my daughter to God. She's having issues and all that. At times people will come and tell you that, have you gotten to consult about your family issues, or there was something that had been said and all that? And I become so ignorant, and I'm like, do you know what? I'm a Christian. I don't believe in things of great parents. I don't believe to do with what. At times we are getting very ignorant of some of these cultural things, and they're the ones that are eating up in this life that we are at. It's good we are Christians. It's good that we are born again. It's good that we know to pray. It's good that we believe in the blood of Jesus that was shed on Calvary, and it's the victory of all things. And at times we are so confident that by the blood, you know what miracles happen and all that. But as much as we're very informed about that, as much as we're very okay within our minds that Christ died on the cross, there are some of the things that we should not be ignorant about. Even these things of curses, at times we become ignorant of them, and these are things that really happen. Because you hear of people who have been cursed by their parents or by their grandparents, and they take it so lightly. You are ignorant. You can't even go and ask elders when maybe this and this ever happens. What am I supposed to do? We are really getting ignorant of some of these things, and these are the things that are really affecting us. Because as much as we're becoming ignorant of our cultures, of the things that our grandparents used to do, they are still eating us up because they have power. Because in early days, traditions, cultures, and all those were things that were really important, and they were really keen to point. And a good evidence is, I don't know whether you have ever gotten to read about the stories in the Old Testament. And if you have been too keen to detail of these stories of the Old Testament, you can get to relate why we have to observe some of these cultural things that are usually expected of us in our various traditions. You know, we come from various places, from various cultures, various things are expected of us. You know, as myself, as I'm getting married, you cannot compare to maybe a Maasai girl when she's getting married, maybe from a Ruya girl when she's getting married. Practices are different. And it's the high time that at times we get we get to borrow some of this information. As much as we're getting to be learned, we're getting to read books, we're getting to have careers, it's very important also to get to know about our cultures, about our backgrounds, about the things that are expected of us. Now, me as a Kikuyu girl, what is expected of me? As I'm starting the journey of having children, what is expected of me as a girl? The things to do with maybe marriage and dowry and all that, and child naming. It's good to know some of these things. If you are privileged to have a grandmother, go sit with her. If you're privileged to have elderly uncles and aunties who are informed, who are from the village, because I know in one or another, we all have those people who are in the village and they are well informed about the cultures and all that. Look for those people. Get to know some of these things. Because westernization is really affecting us. That's why in one or another, you've gotten to hear of illnesses. People are going to hospitals. And after going to so many hospitals, you'll be told, you need to go back to your home. You need to go and get to know what happened within your home and all that. Why? It's because there's something that happened there at home. And now we are here in the city. We are here with our modernization and all that. And we're so very much confident that with prayers, with taking maybe our loved ones, maybe who are affected and all that, to churches and all that, it will get to be solved and all that. And it's good. Before we get to those extent that maybe something has happened, you have gotten a loved one who has gotten an illness that at times is incurable. You've sought medication from all sorts of hospitals. You have even traveled outside country, but you have not been able to get medication for that illness. Reason being, it's not just as common as it is. It has come from your home place. Yes, we get ignorant of cultures, but cultures are very strong. They are very strong. You know, I usually get to see maybe people from Western and all that, how they practice their values, how at times they treat maybe the partner who has been left by their loved one. And those are things that maybe from my place, I have not heard of them. How we do our things is not how they do their things. And yes, we say that like we are like Christ, you know, Christ died on the cross, he died for us. We now in the New Testament regime. And I'm like, it's good we are living in the New Testament, but the reason why the Old Testament is still there is to teach us some of these things, because there are things that as much as we become ignorant about, we must get to follow. We must get to follow them. That's the reason why, as much as we are Christians, as much as we are born again, as much as we prayers, we are tongue speaking, we are miracle performing, I've not seen of a culture where there's no practice that is usually made when a girl is getting married and all that. They might be different, but the issue of dowry and all that, it's something that we get to read even in the Bible. It's something that used to happen, because when we get to read like the story of Jacob with Leah and Rachel, it gets to tell us that these are things that used to happen even in the Bible. There's no you could have just gotten someone's girl and you just make her your wife and just like that. So these are things that they relate more to the cultural things. But as much as we are Christians, I usually see like in our Kikuyu culture, when a girl is getting married, when parents, like now if I want to get married, my parents must give an authority to the guy who wants to marry me. Before even the pastor comes in, before even we start planning for the dates and even we start plans with the church, if my parents have not said a yes, even that wedding cannot go ahead. That ceremony, church ceremony cannot go ahead. So as much as the church is coming in, let's also not neglect and forget about our cultures, about what is expected of us in our cultural places, in our different cultural backgrounds and all that. Because these are some of the things that at times are getting to affect us. But I usually see, even in this era we are at, someone will give birth to twins and maybe decide to separate them. There are instances that nothing ever happens because homes are different. But I've heard of instances that the same has happened, but one of the child has gotten issues. Why? Because we say that it's good to sit down, talk with your relatives, the elder relatives. Let them tell you. Have you ever heard of an instance? This and this ever happened in our home. Hey, my great grandparent, maybe the person I'm named after. What was the character of this person? At any given time, how did he get to, maybe if at all he is alive, you can be able to relate the kind of life that person lives. If at all that person is not alive, you can ask, what used to be the character of this person? At times, it's by getting some of these wisdom, some of this information that will even help you to break some of these, at times, cultural ties that are tying us. At times, some of these things that at times are really connecting us from maybe people we are named after. That is how now at times culture and family backgrounds and all that gets related with Christianity. You need to have this wisdom so that now you can come in and know where to apply the thing to do with prayers, the thing to do with fasting and all that. Because at times, there's some of the things you really need to break. Because at times this thing of naming and all that, you know, I may name my child or my son after a certain uncle who used to have a very bad behavior. And by me naming him that way, those bad behaviors might extend to my son. It happens. So at times, maybe me not naming him the same name might not apply, but there's a way I can still name him the same name, and I commit the name before God, and I'm like, the name will be the same, but the behavior and the things this person used to do will not like be carried on to the next generation. Now this is where prayer comes in, but not just assuming that I'll not name my daughter or my son a name that was for so and so and so because of this and this. You can still name that person the same name and now commit this your young girl, this your young boy to God, and we're like, there's no trait that will be hereditary. There's no like those curses at times. You know, at times we even need to be going to God and we break these curses. You know, the Bible tells us that curses at times they get up to the fourth generation. You can imagine. There's a curse that could be in your home, and it might not have affected your parents, but it might affect you, or it might affect even your children. Because you don't know about it. Maybe your parents don't know about it, but maybe the other generation knew about it, and it may come to affect the fourth generation. So, as much as we are getting to have understanding of the homes we come from, the more we get to become prayerful, the more we are like in awareness of what we need to commit to God, of the things we need to pray for. Because at times it's something that you don't know that gets you by surprise. Because if I get to know that in my family a certain thing usually happens, it would be very easy to stand on the ground and say, yes, it might have happened to me, but I'm breaking I'm breaking that lineage. You create a gap and you're like, from me to the generation that is coming, this thing will not happen again. Now this is where Christianity comes in. You know, start like committing this to God. This is where now you bring up the issue of prayers and the issue of maybe sacrifices, the issue of what we call it. You become like delivered, the issue of deliverance and all that. And at times, it's not very easy to get to understand some of these things, because you know there are some things we just do casually, not knowing that they have a meaning, but it's just because we don't know. And the one thing that the Bible tells us that his people get lost because of ignorance. Yes. It's good to know. It's good to have that urge of knowing. As much as we are so concerned about reading the Bible and knowing what is expected of us, I feel it's also very okay to get to know about your background. It will save you a lot of messes that at times that can arise in your generation to come. It's very important, and this is something that I'm urging us. Let's normalize visiting our parents. Let's normalize visiting our grandparents. Let's normalize having discussions with them. Yeah, just get out of Nairobi, go and visit your shosho somewhere in a country. Go and ask them, hey, shosho, when you're young, when you're getting married, what used to happen? And if this one does not happen, what used to happen? And maybe, how did you do this and this? And this thing will give you wisdom even to handle the things that we are experiencing at this point. I usually get to see that nowadays people who know about cultures and all that, they are becoming very precious because most people don't have information about where they come from. They don't have information. Yes, I'll be very proud to know what I'm a Kikuyu, what I'm a what. But if you're asked anything, any detail that concerns about your culture, you don't know. There are some people, yes, they'll be here calling themselves Kikuyu. I'm using Kikuyu because personally I'm a Kikuyu. That's why I'm really particular on using the culture Kikuyu. And I'm like, I'll be very proud saying that I'm a Kikuyu. But if I'm asked the do's and the don'ts of Kikuyus, maybe I don't know. If I'm asked the do's and the don'ts of maybe of being a Luo, you don't know. If you're asked the do's and the don'ts of being a Kisii, maybe you don't know. And it's the high time we get to know much of these things, because they'll get to help you. There are some families where the parents or maybe the grandparents have said that in this family no one will ever intermarry, and maybe you don't know, and maybe you just don't care, you don't want to know, and you just go ahead and intermarry, and then from there you start having issues with your marriage and all that, and you go with the confidence of, do you know what? I'm a Christian. It's okay that you are Christian, but it's good at times to handle this thing at the first. Not you start handling it when things are already worse. When you have gotten 1, 2, 3 children, and now things are getting worse, and it's when you get to hear from your aunties and uncles. And do you know what? That your grandmother had said that in this family, these cultures should not get married, you should not marry certain cultures and all that. But if you knew this thing earlier, you could have solved it from the early place. And that's why at times we are getting to confuse this thing of Christianity and culture. Because yes, we believe that we were very born again. We believe that yes, we are followers of Christ and these things can never come to affect us. But the fact is, they are affecting Christians. These are things that are affecting even families of pastors. Because if at all you are ignorant about something, that thing can affect you. And as I'm saying again and again, even God says that His people perish due to ignorance, just because they don't know. So it's good at times to get to know some of these things. If at all you hear your parents saying about something, don't just assume it's just from nowhere. There's a reason. And it's only if you sit them down and you get to ask them, by the way, Mom, why do you tell me that I should not do this? Why do you tell me that I should not do this? Is there something that had been spoken? Is there something that I need to pray about to break? Maybe, at times, there's a good thing about how God got to, the good thing about the death of Christ and all that. He gave us that, like, He opened and He gave us, what can I say it? The good thing with the dying of Christ and the sacrifice of His one and only begotten Son that God made for us. It's one thing that at times gives us confidence, that we are given confidence. We can break all chains. We can at times, things that were said by prayers, we can break them. And you'll be able to break something because it's there. There's no way I can start like breaking a curse that was said and I don't know about the curse. No, that's the issue. There's no way I'll be like trying to speak about a word that was spoken about maybe my generation, maybe about my name, and I don't know that there was something that was spoken. So that's where it starts from. You must get to the root of it. Before now you start praying, before now you get to know what to pray for, you must be into the depth of the entire issue. Because where we are messing is, at times we are so ignorant, and now when things have become worse, it's now when we start, now we are bringing prayers, we are bringing what, when issues are still worse. Because if at all, the root is something that you have not done, you need to do it. if at all it's something that maybe you did not break, yes, you need to go there, and maybe if it's an altar that is still in existence. One thing we say about an altar, if at all it's not broken, either it's a godly altar or it's an ungodly altar. If at all it's not broken, just know it still has power. If at all there's an altar that was ungodly, that was raised upon your home, or maybe upon your clan, or maybe upon your relatives, family, and all that, if that altar has not been broken, it's still in existence, it still has power. Yeah, that's how strong altars are. As much as the godly altars are strong, even these other altars are usually strong, because these are things that might have happened, and that altar is still in existence. So, what you can do now, before you start raising now the godly altar, you must start by breaking that altar that is ungodly, so that now it can stop raining, and now the godly water can start to rain. And these are things that at times that requires a lot of wisdom. There are things that at times that requires a lot of spirit. The spirit of God at times have to lead us, because it's not easy. It's not easy. I don't know whether you have sat with people who have issues of families or issues because something is happening, because I don't know so and so. You know, in Kikuyu culture, if like my dad hasn't taken dowry for my mom, and then myself I take dowry to my dad, and my dad happens to eat this dowry, yani my parents eat my dowry before they pay the dowry of my mother, this dowry can affect them. Now there are some of people who such instances have gotten to happen. You have eaten dowry of your daughter, and yet you never took dowry to your mother. And now such an issue, as much as you may try to pray, as much as you may try to go, I don't know which prayer center, as much as you may fast, if something has happened in such an instance, you must start by first taking this dowry. You must start by trying to amend the things that you didn't do that could be the root of issues. Because I know in many instances I've seen that such issues have happened, and now after the parents have decided now to take the dowry first, and now they start like an entire process of taking the dowry and all that, and you get to see maybe a family member was sick, was so ill, and that person gets to leave. And that person gets to be cured and all that. And you see now the person has recovered and all that. That's how at times powerful these things are. Yeah. At times I feel people who at times assume that family and cultures and all that, that they don't have power. They have power. As much as we say in Christianity, we should pray, you know, now Jesus came, there's the Holy Spirit, and there's all that. Let's not be dumb about our cultures. Let's not be ignorant about where we come from. Yes, gather information. Get to know 1, 2, 3 things. Yeah, it's good at times. Sacrifice some time. Go to your social, go to your muka. Get to know some of these things. Because you realize nowadays, when maybe children get to finish class 8, especially for the boys who get circumcised and all that, in particularly to our culture, nowadays I usually see that even they don't go in those like cultural organization and all that, they go to the church. So in one or another, this boy will not get to know much about the culture. There's no place that these people are gotten to be sat down and gotten to be told information on another about who you are. You know, being born in a certain culture says a lot. And as much as we may say that some of us have been born in the city and all that, it's okay. My issue here is these people who are getting affected of things from their cultural observing beliefs and customs and all that. No, that's where my worry and my issue is coming in. If at all you know your family lineage is from is from town setup, is from the city and all that, for you are safe, because you get to realize that even your parents and your great-grandparents, they have no much observation of customs and beliefs and all that. But not for us who have come from the village, who at times there are protocols that must be observed. There are things that must be done in a certain order. I mean, I will not sit there and be ignorant about. My mom will not tell me something and I'm like, you know what? I'm a Christian, I'm born again and all that. Because this is something that might affect me. And if it will not affect me, it might come to affect my generation. And why make my children suffer because of something that I could have avoided? As much as I know God, as much as I know Christ, there's nothing wrong with taking dowry. There's nothing wrong with at times naming a child after someone. I don't think there's something wrong of some of these to beliefs. You may think they're just there just for the sake. Wait until you realize in your family setup that thing should be observed, and you refuse to observe it, and it comes to affect you. I have heard of stories, many stories of people who are really suffering, and when they get to the little, even I've seen people who have died. You've gotten sick to extent that now your health have deteriorated to a point you have lost your life, just because of a cultural observation that could have made. But people became ignorant. People became ignorant in the name of, you know what, we are Christians. You know what, we are now followers of Christ. And as I'm saying, it's not good just because you're Christian, you'll be foolish. This is something I keep on saying. Don't be a fool just because you are Christian. Don't follow religion to a point that it has brainwashed you, like you no longer did. Like you no longer get to the facts of issues. Because the bad thing is that the people who get to be affected by this thing are the people who are really too much into religion. And especially for these people who are into these church setups that, in one or another, we can call them cats and all that. People who are so addicted into things that, you know what, in our church we don't do this, in our church we don't do this, in our church we don't do this. And one or another, I don't call these places churches. They're just cats and all that. Because one thing I believe, our great-grandparents, they used to believe in God. They used to pray. Yes. Because myself, I have a grandmother who is old. The kind of people who fought for independence, the Mamo fighters. Yeah, I have grandma who gives stories of those extents, and they used to pray. Not that even those times they didn't pray. They used to believe in God. As much as they used to do other things, they used to believe in God. But you know, when the westernization came in, it came and collapsed us in a way that we should forget where we come from, and we start buying ideas and all that. Of which there is nothing wrong with that. But at times, as much as we're getting to learn, let's know how to balance the two. Because we may fall so much on this religion, Christianity and all that, yet there are some of the things that we're getting to suffer from, and they have come from our cultures, from our customs, from our beliefs, from our home places and all that. So we really need to be vigilant about that. And there's a Kiswahili saying that says that mwacha mila ni mtumwa. Mwacha mila ni mtumwa. You might feel that you're so okay, you know what, I don't belong to a certain culture. You know, I cannot follow a certain thing. I'm a son of God, I'm a daughter of God, I'm of the Christ, I'm born again and all that. And in one or another, this thing might come to affect you. You don't know about it, you don't know when, you don't know how. But these are things that just emerges. And at times, it's after you get to sit down and think about them, you're like, oh, this could have originated from here, and here. This one could have, because these are things we need not to be ignorant about. Yes. And in one or another, this mtumwa that we are saying, in a better English one, is a slave. Yes. Mwacha mila ni mtumwa. You become a slave by just ignoring where you come from and your origin and all that. You become like a slave. Because at times you are really torturing yourself with so many things so that you can prove a point. Because this is what at times most people are after. You want to say, you know what, me, my daughter cannot be named. I don't know after so and so. You want to prove to us a point that, you know what, I'm born again Christian. and you know what, I don't name my children after so and so and so. You want to prove to us a point, and there's nothing wrong with that. My issue comes in when you ever get a problem, or when this child ever gets a challenge just because of your decision and all that. Why make my daughter suffer? Why make my son suffer just because I didn't name them, I don't know, after so and so? Why? I don't want to become a slave of some of these things. I always say, whatever you can avoid, can't you avoid it? It's not everything that used to be done in our early days that we can follow up and do. That's why I'm saying, go and gather information. Whatever is spying to your faith and to your religion, do it. Whatever is necessary, whatever is a must, do it. If at all something is an issue, it's not something that can affect you or not, just leave it. But it's not good that we get into that point of ignoring where we come from and all that. We need to be very keen, we need to be observant. Let's gather information, let's get to know where to draw the line. Where Christianity and cultural practices, where we need to say, up to here, I don't think I need to really dwell on culture. I need now to come with the faith I have in God and all that. And I think by this, we'll be able to solve some of these many challenges that we are getting to have. Some of these many illnesses that people are suffering from, illnesses that have no cure. You know, there are some families who have children or maybe loved ones who are always in bed because of illnesses that they don't know the cure and all that. My dear friend, my dear sister, my dear brother, try to go and consult in your family setup whether there is something that might be happening. Not all illnesses that are usually comes from those issues, because at times they usually get to see that there are people, if at all you get to see someone who is in a certain way, have you gone back to your home and asked this and this and this? There are some illnesses, yes, that are just natural, but there are some that even you'll hear, even doctors in hospital get to tell you. To this extent, we want you to go back home. Go and ask several questions about this and this. When it gets to such points, don't be so rigid of, I'm a Christian, I'm a what. Go gather information. After getting the information, now you will bring up your faith and your understanding of the Bible and of the Word and of Christianity to judge on what to do. Because at times you may go there and the things they tell you to do, according to your belief, you cannot do them. And there's nothing wrong with that. Now from there, it's you to make the judgment. Now with your wisdom that you have, with the understanding that you have about God, about how God, He gave His Son, Jesus Christ, about how by the blood of Jesus we are hidden over. Now it's you to make the judgment of what you can do with this information. But it's very okay, go gather information. There's nothing wrong with going to those parents and grandparents and gathering this information. Have the information within yourself. And now when you have the information, it's very easy to decide, I think I can do this, I think this I cannot do. According to my faith, I cannot go to this extent. Because as much as we are trying to solve some of these many issues that we're getting ourselves to, we might not be able, if at all we're not aware of where we come from. So this is an urge that I'm giving each and every one of us. Get to know where you come from. Get to know whether in your family there's a word that was ever spoken. Get to know whether maybe in your family there is a word that was spoken that you should not get married to a certain and certain tribe. You should not get married to a certain and certain place. Yes. Maybe there is someone, at times I usually see, even there are people who usually say that no child will be born in this family that maybe will be named after the person. And when you try to name your child after that person, the child dies. So if at all you know very well that a certain and certain person left a word, he said that he should never be named after, and no child should ever be named after him or her. Don't go ahead and name as much as you believe in God. If you had such and such a word, don't be there to you are in a tug of war. You said this, me I can do this. So we're getting ourselves in so much troubles. Let's be there out to gather information about where we come from, about our cultures, about beliefs, about customs, about the things that used to be done. If at all these things were not done, what used to happen? let's get together this kind of information. So let's plan visits to go and visit our parents, our grandparents, and our uncles and aunties. Yeah, these are the times that at times, if you feel something that you're not able to communicate well with your mom, go and look for that auntie that you're free. Go and ask her questions. Get to know some of these things. The same way to uncles and all that. Get to know the kind of blessings that at times that comes from uncles. Get to know the kind of blessings that comes from a father. Because at times there are blessings that comes from a father. Get to know these things. At times these are things that at times you're not able to get to read them in books that we are running in school and all that. These are not things that you'll be able to get in church. But my dear friend, if at all you purpose and you're really committed to it, you go and gather information from where you come from and all that, you'll get to hear some of this information. Let's also, as much as you're bringing up children in the city, if there's an information that you feel they really need to know, tell them as young as they are. If there's something that is very crucial that relates to your family and like it needs to be passed on from a generation to another, let them know. Don't be like this thing will come to affect them when you are late and you're born. And they'll be like, I wish my mom told me this. I wish my dad told me this. Don't be jealous about what you know. If at all you know something is important and something that is a chance happens in your family, give the information to your son. Give the information to your daughter. Let the information be carried on. Because the one thing that we say we can never change where we come from. I cannot stand and say that I'll change being a Kikuyu. I cannot. If I'm born from the Jaggies, I'll never change. That's where I belong. And now even the children that I will come to have, and even the generation that will come after me, in one or another, they will have a root that is from the Jaggies. So if there's anything that happens in the Jaggies that they need to know, it's my responsibility to pass it to them. And this is how we get to save the generation that are coming. This is how we get to avoid some of these things that are usually happening. You get to hear of children who at times who have disabilities. I don't say that disabilities comes from culture and all that, and family setup and all that. There are some that is because of issues and all that, but there are some at times that are getting to happen. Maybe after a child has been born, the child was born okay, and then something that just develops from I don't know where, it becomes an issue, and that child can no longer support themselves and all that. They become so independent. And these are things that we can avoid. So it's like a responsibility of each and everyone. Let's be keen, let's be observant, let's ask questions. When you go for Christmas for that 1 week or those 3 days, if there's something that you feel is not clear in your mind, ask. The good thing about these older relatives, the uncles, aunties, and grandparents and all that, they're always very willing to share this kind of information. So be there out and ask. Get to know. If at all things that you can write down, get to write. Get to write because these are things that are very important. Nowadays, there are people who are getting paid just because they know about cultures and all that. Yeah, I usually hear of motivational speakers and such like people who just go to talk and teach people about cultures and all that. That's how important at times knowing your culture is. Yes. So gather information, get to know. As much as you are gathering other information concerning any other things, let's also be very vigilant to get to know about our cultures and where we come from. And also get to know where do Christianity come in our culture? Where do culture come in our Christianity? And I know with that, we'll be able to curb some of these challenges that we're facing because the Spirit will always lead us. One thing I love about God, He gave His one and only Son, Jesus Christ. And when Jesus died, He gave us the Spirit. The Spirit of God, the Holy Spirit will always lead us. At times, He will always direct you. He will always at times get to give you an understanding of what to do, what not to do, and all that. So, as much as we are prayerful, as much as we are really born again, as much as we are really committed to God and have faith in God, let's also not be ignorant about where we come from. And I think it is just that for now. And until next time, bye-bye. Love you.